back to Comic Beyond. In this episode, we're going to be covering the Green Lantern versus Aliens, three-part comic. So I'll tell you, the comic really gets into it because the first two pages you see is a Green Lantern strung up to like a wall, like you see in the movies when they have them impregnated with the face hugger. And immediately the panel starts zooming into its chest, which, a Green Lantern suit, his symbol's like right there. And then the alien just busts out of his chest, well, busting out the Green Lantern symbol. And that's how the book starts off. Like right away, it lets you know, what we're in for when you pick this miniseries up. So we start off with Hal Jordan. He's actually, he ends up helping Green Arrow and Black Canary with a bank robbery. And they're actually about to go get dinner once they're done cleaning up. And Hal gets a message from one of the Guardians saying, "Hey, we need you. We got a situation." So Hal flies off. He goes and meets up with like Kilowog and some of the other Green Lanterns. And they explain that, so we got some Green Lanterns that went missing. We believe they're dead. And they were taken out by an alien species that they haven't never seen before. So they send Hal and some others out to investigate. They go to this planet. And when they get there, of course, that's from where the chest burster came out of the Green Lantern. So the Green Lanterns that were there, they're dead. Hal and the others are investigating, and they're walking through, and then they discover the xenomorphs, and they're fighting them off, and this and that, and then, they discover that the xenomorphs, they have no effect on the Green Lantern ring, so, they shield themselves, and they're fighting, and, at first they're like, oh, we gotta take these things out, they're dangerous, and Hal's like, they're not dangerous, they don't know any better, they're just creatures, they're almost like sharks, they're surviving, they're using animal instincts and stuff like that. And so, Hal's like, we're not gonna kill them, and so what's your plan? And Hal's like, the next thing you know, Hal's got them all in bubbles, they done took the xenomorphs and the eggs and all that stuff. He's like, we're gonna relocate them. So he's like, we're going to relocate them, and the one place that he takes them, and I actually kind of found this funny, the reveal. So he takes them to an uninhabitable planet where, they can't hurt nobody and cause any destruction and all that stuff. And come to find out, the planet that they leave them on is Mogo, the living planet, which is also a Green Lantern. So they fly off and they assume that they've taken care of the situation, delicately and stuff like that. So in this book, the first half comes before Green Lantern, or Hal Jordan goes nuts and kills off the Lanterns and the Guardians before he becomes Parallax and that whole story arc. So this first half of the book, the first issue that you see, Hal, this predates that story arc of Hal going bad. And then we jump like a decade later, and now we're seeing Kyle Rayner, who's the current and only Green Lantern who can wield a ring because of the events of the Parallax and Hal Jordan and all that stuff. So we see Kyle, he's working at his art desk, he's doing his thing. And then he discovers that while he's been up all night drawing, some alien people enter his house, and they're there to meet with him. Come to find out, they're actually ex-Green Lanterns. They no longer have a ring or power or anything like that. And so they come to Kyle, and they're like, hey, so a ship went down on this planet that Hal left these dangerous aliens on. And now we need to clean up his mess because it was a Green Lantern that, made the situation. That's our job and our responsibility to deal with it and clean up his mess. So Kyle's like, so you want me to come with you because I have the only ring and this and that. So they're like, no, we want you to come with you because you're a Green Lantern. So, Kyle's like, whatever. So he bucks up, suits up, charges up his ring, and then they head out and they go to the planet. And so they're looking around and they're investigating. And so far at that point they didn't find any survivors. But then then Kyle stumbles on and gets a gun pointed in his face. And then they come to find out there's this girl. Her name's Crow, and she's badass. She's probably my favorite part of this mini series, to be honest with you. And then there's a reveal at the end. But so she's like, he's like, "Who are you?" and this and that. And then he tells her the name and this, and I'm a Green Lantern. And so Crow's like, I was on board this ship, and it was my responsibility to make sure the crew stayed safe. So I'm gonna try to get whatever survivors that these aliens hadn't killed yet. I'm gonna try to help rescue them. And she's like, "You can come with me or not, or whatever." And so they all team up. She teams up with them, and they go into this hive. They find the eggs. Well, then they're ambushed by xenomorphs. And then, so most of the Green Lanterns, or ex-Green Lanterns, they're taken, and of course you know what's going to happen to them. They're going to be, gestated with the face hugger. Well, Hal's ring, he's trying to save one of them, and the dude grabs his hand that his ring's on, and he slides off, and when he does, he takes Hal, or I keep saying Hal, he keeps taking Kyle's ring, or he took Kyle's ring when he fell. So now, at the end of issue 2, he leaves you on a cliffhanger because not only are they in a tight jam, well, now their best chance of survival is, lost. He lost his Green Lantern ring. So that takes us into issue 3. He's like, I gotta get the ring back. If we're gonna survive this, I need that ring. So eventually it ends up getting down to Kyle and Crow, and he's starting to like her. He's been flirting with her the whole time since he met her. And she's like, "Well, can you call your ring?" And he's like, "No, I've done it only once and it worked, but this time it's not working for some reason." And it's not implied really why. I mean, it might be implied, but to me, it didn't really suggest, why he couldn't call his ring. But I suspect it's because it fell in like the alien goop that the eggs are sitting in and stuff like that. So it's like holding the ring down. But yeah, so he can't call his ring. And so they go, and then they discover the queen, the alien queen or whatever. And so Kyle's freaking out, and he's like, "I don't know what we're gonna do about this." He's like, "We only got guns and this." And there's a funny part that so since he lost his ring, Crow's like, "Well, here's a gun," and Kyle's like, "I don't want it. I don't use weapons, and I'm not lethal." And so Crow's like, "Well, fine, we'll go down there, and you'll just be unarmed." And so Kyle's like, "You know what? You make a good point." And so he takes the gun, and she's like, "You ever fire one of these?" And he's like, "Nope." And so she's like, they look over, and there's a dead xenomorph. She's like, "Well, why don't you, practice on that real quick?" And he fires like, 3 or 4 times, and he's missing, and he's doing terrible. And he finally gets a shot. He finally hits it. And so she's like, "Well, okay, we're dead." So, they're looking down and they're assessing the situation because they find some of the survivors, the ex-Green Lanterns, and then some of her crew, and they're down in the pit where the Queen Xenomorph is, and he's like, "Well, that's not all that's down there," and he notices that he sees his ring, and he's like, "I gotta get the ring or whatever." And so Crow's like, "So this is the plan." She's like, "Don't look back and just keep moving. I'm gonna go down and distract them. You get your ring." She's like, "That's priority." And she's like, "Whatever you hear, whatever you see, just make sure you get your ring." And so Kyle kisses her, and he's like, "Please don't shoot me." So that was kind of funny. But he's like, "Good luck." And so they go down, and she goes in guns blazing. Like, this is Crow was a really badass character in this book. And so she's fighting them off and causing a distraction so Kyle can get the ring. And so while he's doing that, as he's going to get the ring, he looks back, And of course, xenomorphs, they bleed acid. Well, of course, while she's shooting, acid gets on her and it burns away her flesh, revealing that she's actually an android. Androids, just like in the Alien movies, even with the milk blood. So, that was the big reveal for her and for Kyle. And, so he gets his ring, and she's down. Finally the xenomorphs overwhelm her and she's down. So Kyle, he's got his power ring and he unleashes. He creates a machine gun. He starts mowing them down and fighting them off. And so finally he gets to her, and he's like, "Well, why didn't you tell me?" And this and that. And she's like, "What if it really mattered? Regardless." And so she's like, "You gotta kill him." She's like, "You gotta wipe them out. These things are dangerous." And so Kyle's like, "No, that's not what I do. That's not what Green Lanterns do." And she's like, "You don't understand. It was a Green Lantern that put us in this situation, and are you really gonna just do what he did just so other people can wind up in the same spot we're in?" She's like, you can't let that happen." And as she's talking, she's dying, and then in the word bubbles, you can kind of see that the words are fading in and out, almost like a machine talking. So she dies, and then that inspires, Kyle. He's like, she's right, So he uses his power ring. He disintegrates all of them: the queen, the xenomorphs, the eggs, all of it. Like, he wipes them out. And so he saves what's left of her crew, what's left of the ex-Green Lanterns, and they're sitting outside the wreckage of the ship, and they're like, "Kyle, are you okay? You seem basically bummed out." And they're like, "I would call this a win. You got the survivors out. You did it." And he doesn't say it, but you can tell he's upset because Crow died, and he basically says, "Well, I didn't save everybody," and he's referring to her. So yeah, he wins, and he wipes them out, and he realizes sometimes being a Green Lantern, you gotta probably end up doing things you don't want to do. You can't save them all, basically. So that was the story. I really enjoyed it. Like, I had read it once, and I went back to reread it to do this episode, and I just kind of rediscovered it, and I really enjoyed it. The artwork's great. It's a little on the cartoonish side, but it looks really good. Um, I liked it. It came out in 2000, oddly enough. I thought it was probably like a mid to late 90s book, but it was actually published in 2000. I'm a huge Green Lantern fan. Like, I love the Green Lantern mythos and stories and stuff like that. And I want to do more Green Lantern stories. But saying I'm a fan, I can't say so much for the movie, the Ryan Reynolds movie. I was so amped up for that movie, and that's the one movie I was just thinking about it. What movies have disappointed me, and that's one of the big ones because Warner Brothers at that time, all they were making were Superman and Batman movies, and finally they announced they were doing a Green Lantern movie. I'm like, finally they're doing a movie that, ain't one of the big two, and it was the Green Lantern. So I was amped up. I went to the movie. I walked out disappointed. I'm still disappointed. So I'm hoping one day we'll get a decent Green Lantern movie. I don't, with the stuff they do, I don't really have too much hope right now. But one day we'll get it. Until then, I got my comics and I got my cartoons, and that's enough for me right now. But yeah. So that was the book. It's just 3 issues. No, 4 issues. It's just a 4 issue miniseries. It doesn't take long to read. Again, enjoyed the art, enjoyed the story. It's easy to find. It's on eBay, and I'm pretty sure it's in a collected trade paperback, so you can probably find it like that, Comixology, places like that. I highly recommend it. This was one of the better crossovers like that they had put out back in the day. And at this point, DC and Dark Horse were on a roll. They were loving teaming the aliens up and the Predators up with the DC heroes, which inspired me to do this series throughout the summer, which we got behind on. So look forward to tomorrow because I'm going to put out another episode. a little bonus episode trying to get caught up. But that's this episode. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you can check the story out. And until next time, I'll talk to you later.